Colin Kaepernick will start for the 49ers Thursday when they face the Chargers. San Diego will be paying tribute to hundreds of thousands of current and retired military personnel who live and work in the area. Meanwhile, military personnel tweeted their support for Kaepernick's actions Tuesday under the hashtag Veterans for Kaepernick, one of last night's top trending topics, and was also still trending this morning. Max, does this change your opinion at all on Kaepernick having the veterans behind him?
Well, not at all, because I support his protest in the first place. I think what this indicates is that the United States military is, although it acts as a great fighting force and a monolith in terms of its capacity to keep us safe and to enforce, foreign policy from a military point of view, etc., it's comprised of individuals, of Americans who in civil society voice their opinion and have many different opinions. And anyway, there's never unanimity in any group of people, even like dictators who say that they won 99% of the vote, which never happens, of course, and you know it's nonsense. They even don't say it's 100% of the vote, because there's no such thing as unanimity. There will always be people who voice an opposing opinion. And in this case, men and women in the military who look and think, I'm sure, what am I fighting for? His right to protest, his right to try to insist that we live up to our ideals and to try to lend his voice to that struggle. I think that's all good. I haven't yet brought up the fact that Kaepernick shows up to the press conference in a T-shirt depicting Fidel Castro. Whatever you want to say, people who want to celebrate his early history as a kind of people's promising revolutionary and everything, went up the head of state as as they all do, communist dictators do, as an oppressive communist dictator and a big human rights violator. And so when he shows up in that T-shirt making the point about how America has to live up to its ideals, it makes me look at him and think, he reminds me of a college sophomore who's starting to learn about the world, doesn't yet know how to vet the information or how to process it or how to integrate it into a broader system of beliefs, and so appears to be misguided at best and really ignorant, or worse,
that shirt's
at worst.
Very offensive to a lot of people.
Of course it is. Of course it is. It's a stupid thing to do. But in terms of, so that, if there's something that wants to make you anti-Kaepernick, and I've been strong pro-Kaepernick on this show, it's something like that. But even then, his right to be stupid, that's an American right too. And to voice a stupid opinion is also an American right. And I think that's primarily, Stephen A., what the military, men and women in the military who've voiced this kind of support on that, using that hashtag, are saying, look, we're fighting for something. And it's the freedom to do what Kaepernick is doing, to protest. And in the case of police brutality, he has a valid point.
Well, he definitely has a valid point as it pertains to brutality on the part of police officers, number one. Number two, people that were challenging Colin Kaepernick, I heard no one say he does not have the right to do it. I heard them say it was not right for him to do it. There is a difference. They're not challenging his right because he clearly has the right. The NFL encourages you to stand for the national anthem, but they don't obligate you to do so. Federal laws, the United States Constitution, it does not mandate that you have to do that. So he violated no laws, whether it be that of the NFL or, our Constitution or the laws of that govern our nation. So nobody was in a position to sit up there and say that he can't do it. What they said is just because you have the right to do something doesn't mean that you should do it, because it's not right in their eyes. I side with Kaepernick because I felt like even though I would not have done it, I did not blame him for doing it, but the Fidel Castro T-shirt and whatever, I think incriminates him significantly. I think it puts him in a situation where now you have American military that are justified in questioning him, those who did. But to me, even though my opinion about Colin Kaepernick has not changed, I support his right to do what he did. Here's where it becomes a bit modified. It's not as it pertains to Colin Kaepernick. It is as it pertains to our American military. On my radio show, Stephen A. Smith Show, Sirius XM, every weekday from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, on Mad Dog Radio, folks have been calling in the last 2 days. I can't tell you how many servicemen and women have called in, and you're divided. People are saying, no, he's perfectly right to do what he did. Others are saying he's incredibly wrong. I know we're saying that no matter what group you pick, folks are divided. In certain respects, we shouldn't be divided. In certain respects, we should understand. There should be some kind of unanimity in terms of our thought process. As unrealistic as that may sound, it's not beyond the pale. When 9/11 took place, as devastating as that was to our nation, if there was something positive that you could peel from it, is that we all came together and we recognized and saw ourselves as American. Not black, not white, not Latino, not Asian American, not Jewish, not Gentile, nothing. We were Americans. We were under attack. They didn't discriminate which Americans they took out. They did not care. And we came together because we recognized that we were one nation. Who personifies that supposedly more than our military? Our military is supposed to, provide unanimity more so than anybody, because you're our American servicemen and women who are going out there putting your lives on the line to protect us, to uphold our values and sustain them. And so when folks are calling in and there's a different interpretation as to what it means, that leaves me confused, because I didn't serve in the military. I have relatives, family members who have and still do serve in the military. And they are all in unison. One voice. Colin Kaepernick is not wrong. When we serve our country, we fight for the right to uphold our values, not to impose our values on you. We fight for the right for you to honor the Constitution in the way that you so see fit. If you want to stand up for the flag, fine. If you don't want to do so, so be it. But we don't fight for the right to dictate to you what you're supposed to do. We fight for the right that you have freedom of speech, freedom of expression, etc. They're uniform in that. So to me, when other military folks call in, and you've got people that are coming to the support of Kaepernick, but others who are not, I'm looking at the military and I'm saying, excuse me, can somebody clarify for me exactly what it is that you stand for in this regard, in this particular situation? Because it says one thing. It's not open for interpretation. The United States Constitution is what it is. And our American soldiers, servicemen and women, they fight to uphold our Constitution. What is the confusion? I don't understand that.
Well, there's always going to be a dissenting minority viewpoint. Dissenting
is one thing. Confusion is another.
I don't remember if it's Kim Jong-un or his dad, Kim Jong-il, but one of them said, the North Korean dictator said, that they golfed one time and every shot was a hole-in-one, the first time they golfed. And even then, if there's an election, they'll claim 99-point-something% of the vote, because even someone who would claim that they got a hole-in-one every time knows that there's no such thing as 100% of the vote anytime, anywhere, particularly not in this country, when you are asked as a private citizen who's also in the military your opinion on an issue. And I was very proud of the veterans who voiced their opinion, which must be seen as, given their circumstances, as unpopular if it's framed as anti-military somehow, what Kaepernick did.
That's it for me. I don't buy that. If you are an American serviceman or woman, it should be unanimity in terms of if he was insulting our military or not.
Well, he said he wasn't.
I know that's why I said I side with him in that regard, because he swore that he was speaking about police brutality and the African-American community. That is what he brought up. That is what he said. What I'm trying to say is that it shouldn't be a divide. It shouldn't be a divide. If anybody knows what our military is all about, it's our military men and women. So my point is that there should be no confusion. And that's what I remember yesterday when somebody called my radio show. I said, sir, there are servicemen and women who called up here on this show and said the exact opposite of what you said.
Because you're not asking the military you're not asking the military as a body. You're asking individuals in the military. I want to get back to and by the way, the Stephen A. Smith show is what, 1 to 3 on
3 p.m. Eastern Time.
XM.
Sirius XM, Mad Dog Sports Radio every day.
You might hear from Molly from Bristol sometimes.
Maybe. Maybe. I'll see if I'll let you through.
If you ever hear Cax Mellerman call in and disagree with you, it's not me. When you bring up, no one's arguing the right to protest, the right for Kaepernick to do what he did. They're arguing whether he should have done it. I hear this argument a lot. if you have the right, but it is never exercised by anyone under any circumstances because it's never the right time or place, do you really have the right? If you are coerced, if there's a sense of coercion and pressure to never do it, and we mentioned yesterday there are a couple of coaches who made it pretty clear that they have blurred the line between encouraging someone to stand for the national anthem and coercing them to do it, and I would include Jay Gruden and Jeff Fisher on that list, from quotes from the other day. That you have the right, but you shouldn't do it. If you shouldn't ever do it and it's never done, you don't really have the right. What's the point in the right if it's never exercised?
Well, again,
you have the right, and people have the right to have an opinion.
Colin Kaepernick is 100% right. He's an American citizen who exercised his First Amendment rights. There is no disputing that. But you do have military men and women who believe that he didn't have the right to do what he did because it was a disservice to them. And I'm saying, how is it that folks can be confused in our American military? How can there be confusion in that regard? I know they're individuals. I know it's not unanimity. It is almost impossible to find. But if there's one place where you would think we would have unanimity, it would be that.
Well, I mean, I would think the nature of the Star-Spangled Banner. The Star-Spangled Banner is a song that commemorates a battle in the War of 1812, and so there are military roots to the song. But it has come to be the national anthem, which means it necessarily represents more than just our great military.
Okay.
It represents our great nation, and I think it's fair for a protester to point and say, this is what I'm protesting about our national anthem and our country, and it is not for the observer to insist what the protester's protest is actually about.
I just want to add one thing. I love that he's socially conscious, especially in our reality TV, Snapchat type world. But you do have to caution him to be educated on the subjects, because wearing something like a Castro T-shirt when you're trying to stand up for oppression, you're doing that exact opposite by wearing that.
You're absolutely right.
That's right.
I'll tell you this, too, in all seriousness, and I'll close it by saying this. You know, in the military, you really don't have a choice. From the moment you arrive, you got a drill sergeant, you're in boot camp. You're sort of deprogrammed from being a civilian to being programmed as a military serviceman or woman. So we have to take that into consideration, and we also have to take into consideration the fact that our American soldiers, the men and women who serve our country so honorably, the interest of America is insisted upon them to be put first, ahead of their own civil liberties. So what may be happening, in fact, right now with Colin Kaepernick is that those individuals who are speaking out are people who are in our military, who are actually speaking about a government, about an America that they don't necessarily like sometimes themselves, but are compelled by virtue of their sworn duties to uphold the Constitution, and they may not like it, and that may be the reason that they're thanking Colin Kaepernick, because they support him in certain ways that others don't, and it just shows how divided we are all across the board.
Yeah, but God bless them, because they're the real heroes.
No question.
Coming up
Don't
next.
wear the Castro T-shirt, Colin.
Yeah.
It's a bad look.
No.
Dumb.